It's just literally this unlimited eating until their stomach has expanded and the restaurant owner is just in the back crying. People ask me a lot like, hey Urbano, you gonna start a restaurant sometimes? I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna be a buffet. Hi mga kabano, it's Chris here at maraming salamat sa inyong papanood ng aking top 5 Filipino quirky food habits and traditions video. Ang dami ng mga watch and ang dami ng mga comments din, and a lot of people were writing in saying, hey Chris, you missed this, you missed that. Meron kami iba't ibang mga food habits that you didn't get in your original top 5. So I wanted to make a follow-up to that video. We talk about a few more, but this is like the crowd-sourced edition. And actually, if you think about the term crowd-sourced, could anybody translate that into Tagalog? I was just thinking, kung diretsong Tagalog, kung ano ibig sabihin na crowd-sourced. I don't know if it's like, mataong salsawan? Crowd-sourced. And a pun, I'm sorry. So, crowdsourced edition of my top 5 Filipino quirky food habits that you guys do, and a lot of times you don't even know that you're doing. So let's get right into it. Okay, so one of the things Filipinos do is after parties, there's this thing of like PABALOT, the food. It's an extreme version. Like, I know it's not unique in the Philippines to go to a party and take out food after the party, but in the Philippines, they take it to the next level. And part of the reason is they always prepare too much food. So there's just like way too much food going on at that party. So there's 20 guests, but there's food for 80 guests. But it's also this Filipino generosity of wanting to share the food. So it's almost like it's a planned excess, I think, when you go to these fiestas, that you're gonna take something home. And what I noticed about this is, yes, sometimes Filipinos will use like an ordinary container, like proper bowl or proper something to take it home, but it's always in this like really improvised packaging, because again, it's like such a surplus that you've got to go down and find like, oh, I'll get that old ice cream container out that I've been keeping, I'll get this like plastic bag. So it's always this improvised packaging that you balot your food in when you give it to people to take home. Now, the term pabalot literally means to wrap something up. This is such a part of Filipino culture that there's even a joke from one of the pop singers here that when you're asking for your food pabalot, there's a song that kind of has a lyric, balutin mo ako, and that is like wrap me, kind of is the meaning of that. So that's quite a funny thing for Filipinos. Okay, so the next Filipino quirky food habit, I don't know if this one's quirky as much as it is like downright gluttonous, but this one is like eating between meals. All right, so one of the comments I got about this, I've got to just read like a part of this because it's pretty funny. Okay, we have different food to serve for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And between those meals, we have other meals. As a kid, my breakfast is coffee pandesal, fried rice and toyo or egg. My breakfast is like a small bowl of fruit with yogurt. I really like breakfast. So the Filipino breakfast is already really heavy. And then like literally at 10 a.m. I have a merienda. And the merienda has a hashtag. Who doesn't use hashtag merienda? I think it's like trending on Instagram. Just a whole category of meal that like many other cultures just don't have. But I never gain any weights because I eat light. Okay, good for you. So at least you're having very light merienda, I suppose. Okay, there's snacking. I'm not saying I've never snacked in my life, but a snack kind of connotes this sort of, it's small, like it's, I don't know, a handful of chips, or it's an apple, or it's just something like really light. And dito sa Pilipinas, that snack can be like basically just another whole meal. It actually reminds me of, yung Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yung mga hobbit nila, and they have all their meal times na may breakfast, tapos there's like a meal called, there's morning tea, and then there's something called like 11Z's, which is like the 11 a.m. between morning tea and lunch, my 11Z's din. And that's like the closest thing I can say to explain it. Like, I'm not trying to compare all Filipinos to hobbit people, but I'm like, that literally, their meal pattern as described in the Lord of the Rings, that's really what it feels like in the Philippines. And I experienced this the most actually pagpunta ko dun sa province. So when I'm in the province, I feel like almost a kept animal, because you have your extended family there, and every main meal time they're doing the whole kain ka na thing at you, and then you get to your mid-morning and you're like, wow, I just like had this huge breakfast. I just had like 2 cups of rice, about 250 grams of tocino or pork longanisa, I had 2 eggs, I had a hot chocolate, I had a bunch of fruits, and it kind of gets to 10:30 and then people are coming around saying, oh, it's time to eat again, and you're like, I ate 2 hours ago. It was a big meal. It was a really big meal. I probably don't need to eat until at least 1 or 2 o'clock. Like based on how many calories I had this morning, I really don't need to eat again. But I have seen, like honestly, Filipinos, the merienda, it's basically another ulam. It's basically more rice, like rice with toyo or bagoong rice. And it's like, that's just literally a bowl of rice. That's not a snack, guys. Or it's that carbs on carbs thing where you stick like pancit in a pandesal and you eat that as a snack. And Filipinos don't think that's a heavy meal. That's a heavy meal, guys. So I think Filipinos just naturally love to eat and share their food. And it's a lot about, I guess, showcasing that over-the-top hospitality. But this one for me as a foreigner is sometimes like just, whoa, over the top. So the next one that I heard of from reading the comments board was this concept of like food sharing between households in the Philippines, between neighbors, between kapitbahay, between kabarangay. The idea there is, say you want to build a good relationship with your neighbor. Food is like your vessel in the Philippines to improve your relationship with people. So in Australia, where I'm from, what we might do if you're making friend with your neighbor, maybe they borrow your power tools or your lawnmower, or you help them jumpstart their car or something like that. It's more of like a functional job that you would help your neighbor out with. Here in the Philippines, it's a bit more like you make, again, crazy amount of excess food, and then you just go over to your neighbor and be like, bang, have some food. Like knock on the door, bang, have some food. Now, I see on like US TV, there's that culture of when the person moves into the white picket fence neighborhood, you show up with like a jello or something, or some sort of cookies. And it's more like a welcome to the neighborhood. And it's a bit event driven, right? I think when it happens in Western culture. But dito sa Pilipinas, it's more like, there doesn't have to really be an occasion. Just could be, hey, I just got this extra food, you know, here it is. And they will always reciprocate. So if you give them a platter, for example, of food, right? And not a takeaway container this time, but like a proper plato or dish, they're gonna wash it. And in Australia, normally they would just return that dish to you the next time they saw you. Oh, thanks for sending me over that lasagna. Here's the dish back, because this might be a nice dish. But in the Philippines, it would be like you'd be ashamed to give the dish back empty. So you've got to fill it with some food of your own and give that back. So they made you Bicol Express in a dish, and then you got to be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like refill this dish with humba or something and give it back full, because it's their dish and I have to sort of reciprocate that hospitality. So, you know, food is like your way of buttering up your neighbor in the context of maybe a relationship, a business relationship, or a political alliance or something like that. So there you go. So the next little food habit that I find in the Philippines is this idea of like halo your food. And what I mean here, so halo means mixing everything together on the plate. So in Western eating, right, you normally have this fairly clear, like either it's a single dish that you're eating, like you're having pasta with a particular sauce, right? And that's the only thing on your plate. Or you're having like meat and 3 veg, where you have like your piece of meat, and then over here you got your mashed potatoes, and then here you have your peas, carrots, and corn, for example. And those might be mixed together, but it's like the vegetable and the carb and the meat are largely separate. And to an extent, as you're eating it, maybe you'll mix the peas and the potatoes, and there'll be a bit of gravy or something. But the Philippine take on a plate of food is, first you have this like entire buffet. So there'll be like 6 different ulam, and all of them are quite different flavors and not necessarily designed to match each other at all. They're all like independent. You got like, here's your Bicol Express, then over here you've got like some sinigang, which is very sour, and then over here you might have some lechon, which is like crispy fried porky deliciousness. And you'll just like pile all those, and you got some pancit over here, and you just get some pancit, squeeze some calamansi on, and you just end up with this myriad of flavors that each dish is not really designed to go with the dish next to it. And Filipinos don't care. Like they'll just mix that together, then they'll just like get some leche flan out on the plate, and they'll just like, oh yeah, you know, that Bicol Express followed with some leche flan. Delicious. And it kind of is like, if you understand the way Filipinos eat and how this cuisine is evolved, it sort of makes sense, because actually their palate is really eclectic and they're looking for these real extreme contrasts of flavor. And that doesn't shock them, but it's really quite strange when you come here as a foreigner and you're used to this very regimented, parang yung may appetizer course, main course, dessert. And food might touch like different type of appetizer, like there might be 2 appetizers at the restaurant, and you take a bit of A and a bit of B and put them both on your plate, and you're kind of eating them together, but you're not mixing your appetizers with your mains, with your desserts, all on the same plate and running that all together in the food. And that's what's really different in Filipino eating. That's a little strange if you're a foreigner. Now, if you want to eat again or eat more or dagdag sa plato mo, then Filipinos have this saying like sayang sa plato or sayang sa hugasin. And what they're really saying is, oh, you know, it's just, why get another plate? It doesn't matter. That's just a little bit of sauce. Don't bother washing that up. And the second comment I really liked about this was from Rom Alexis Ryla, who writes, my dad used to always say to us during fiestas, hayaan mong naghahalo-halo mga ulam mo sa pinggan. Maghahalo-halo din naman yan sa tiyan mo mamaya. And what that means is, don't mind if all of the flavors get mixed up on your plate. They're all gonna get mixed up in your stomach anyway. And that's a really accurate statement. So good on you. That's very clear description why Filipinos do this halo-halo thing. The last one I found really interesting of the crowdsourced comments was this idea of Filipinos at a buffet. Now, my hat goes off to anybody who opens an all-you-can-eat buffet restaurant in the Philippines. I don't know how you make money offering an all-you-can-eat or any kind of unli service. Like, I think unli rice you can kind of get away with because, you know, rice is pretty cheap compared to the price of the main ulam. So if that person's spending like 200 pesos for the meal, you probably can afford to give them unli rice in that context. But unli anything else, you're totally screwed. And the reason for that is this mentality of Filipinos that I've got to get my money's worth at the buffet. Like I gotta get what I paid for, and they're just gonna smash that. And I've been to Filipino buffets where I'm a really strategic buffet eater because you guys might not know this, but I actually have an economics degree, and economics treats you to always be optimizing. So I scout the buffet first and I identify kung anong mga pinaka high value items sa buffet. So maybe it's the, I don't know if there's a Japanese buffet, maybe it's the sashimi or the prawn tempura or something like this. And then I like ignore all the distractions of like the cheap empty carbs, no bread, barely any rice, and just focus on the high value ulam. So that's how I roll at buffets, and I don't generally overeat. I mean, I think everybody eats a bit too much at buffets. There was a Simpsons episode, I think, where Homer like went to an unli seafood restaurant, and that's kind of what it reminds me of when I see Filipinos hit like the battered shrimp section of a buffet here. It's just literally this unlimited eating until their stomach has expanded 3 times of its normal size, and the restaurant owner is just in the back crying and then considering taking them to court over like fair use policy of the buffet. That's what it feels like when you go to a Filipino buffet, watching the Filipinos get their money's worth. So I don't do this often in the Philippines because it's also just getting to the food is hard because like there's just so many people and they're like in high rotation. They just keep coming back. So Filipino buffets are crazy, and I would never ever start a business. People ask me a lot like, hey Urbano, you gonna start a restaurant sometimes? I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna be a buffet. Definitely not gonna be a buffet. So if you liked today's video, I loved reading all the comments on this. We got so many comments and watches and people sharing the video out, so thank you so much. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, don't forget to do that because we're going to be making a lot more of these vlogs where we discuss Filipino food and how you guys eat it and consume it and love it and help share the word about what a great cuisine Filipino food really is. Do leave a comment on this. I've probably still missed some funny Filipino food habits out there, so feel free to leave your comments, thoughts, reactions, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye now. Hayaan mong naghahalo-halo mga ulam mo sa pinggan. Hayaan mong naghalo... Too early in the morning for deep Tagalog. Hayaan mong naghahalo-halo mga ulam mo sa pinggan. Sa pinggan. Sorry, there's 2 G's there. Come on, Urbano, get your Tagalog game better.